What's up everybody, this is GeekyAviseq's once again here from Dallas, Texas, and today I'm bringing you a quick review of one of the most interesting phones for MetroPCS and Cricket. It's now available as an Amazon exclusive phone as well. So it's no other than what you see on the screen. It's the LG Stylo 4. So the first thing that you would notice as soon as you pick up the phone is the build quality and the screen. I mean, this has a 6.2-inch full HD LCD display and it looks really good. Let me just unlock the phone. So, I mean, the screen has got a really nice contrast. The text is so sharp even if it's just full HD, and the colors are, you know, popping. It looks excellent. I mean, and it's super bright even on, you know, for outside usage in bright sunlight. So I was pretty impressed by how good the display looks, and even like the overall build quality. It's a very 2018-ish phone, you know, with the metal and glass sandwich design. It's the 18:9 aspect ratio, so it's a taller phone. It's just easy to hold, and it has a humongous 6.2-inch screen. So the back looks like you know, glass, but it is not. It's just plastic, but it's made to look like glass, and I think LG did a pretty good job in that area because it does look like glass, and you won't be able to tell the difference unless you really tap on it. And then if you don't have a case on it, you would probably, you know, develop some scratches. So from that you would know that it's much more softer compared to Gorilla Glass or anything. Well, at the price point this phone is available, they had to make some compromises, and I think even after the compromise, the back looks pretty good. I mean, in terms of build quality, this phone is like boom, 10 on 10. Let me just show you around. So the other good thing about this build quality is that it's not super heavy, it's not super light, so it doesn't feel flimsy, or it doesn't feel like a dead wet like I feel the way I feel with the Note 8. It's premium flagship device, but it's like a little bit too heavy for my liking. But this device just feels about right. I mean, it's a huge display, but it's not super heavy, and it's not super light either. Like some of the ZTE phones also have 6-inch displays, and they are just a lot lighter. But compared to that, this phone has a quite it's just the nice amount of heft, like very comfortable for your hands. Now the other good thing about this phone, the build quality, is this buttons, right? Can you see how much the buttons are actually protruding outside? So these buttons are very clicky, and they give you a nice feedback. And as you can hear, like not the sound coming from the phone, but can you hear the click? So the buttons are clicky, and they give you a really nice you know, feedback. So that's I really like when you have buttons which kind of sticks out a little bit, and you can, you know, feel where the button is, and then when you press it you get a nice feedback from it, so you know that you know, it's working. So hats off to LG for not only making the build quality so good, but also, you know, making the buttons clickier. So on the left side of the phone we have the volume rocker, and then you have the SIM card and micro SD card slot, and on the right there's nothing except for the power button. On the top we have the antenna bands and the microphone port, and on the bottom we have a 3.5mm audio jack. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit in detail a little bit later, and then the antenna bands, and then the microphone. It does come with the USB-C charging port, thank God, and then one single bottom firing speaker, and then the stylus because it's the Stylo, right? So now moving on to, like, I've talked about the build quality, I have talked about the screen quality. Now let me talk about the, you know, the audio quality. So the audio, this has this DTX 3D sound from Dolby, and I know there's a lot of phones, that cheaper phones, that say they have Dolby sound, and I didn't really see a difference from a regular phone versus turning because it's like artificially amplified. It's not like a hardware, you know, DSC, and you would notice the difference in the actual audio quality. But this phone, boom, like I plugged my regular headphones from Philips, not even like the expensive Bose ones, and I listened to Spotify and was like, oh my goodness, it sounds so good. I mean, it has a lot of volume, it's got good bass. I mean, all the mid, low, and high ranges just sound amazing when in the Dolby mode. And the DTX surround, I was actually feeling that I was I was sitting in a concert and listening to music. The sound quality is that good. So this in terms of the hardware specifications, so other than the 6.2-inch screen, it's powered by the Snapdragon 450 processor. Unfortunately, it has only 2 gigs of RAM, which is okay for casual or moderate users, and it has a 33 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty good. I'm a heavy user, and I was able to squeeze it a day and a half, which I think, I mean, for most phones, even phones with the same battery capacity, would just last me a day, barely a day. So this phone, in terms of its power consumption, power management, is pretty good. So if you are a casual user, then I think you should be easily get 2 days or more out of this phone. So battery life is pretty good. In terms of raw processing power, well, it's a Series 4 Snapdragon, so it's not super bad, but it's not the most powerful. It is good for any apps. I didn't play any games to check out. Maybe if you were playing games, you would want to get a phone with a Series 6 or at least a Series 6 or a Series 8 Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. But this is just an entry level a Series 4 but the processor is good. I mean, I was able to run multiple apps, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and I never had any issues while using them. The only problem is the 2 gigs of RAM. The LG skin here is pretty optimized, so there's no lags and it runs really smooth. There's no crashes, force closures, or anything like that. So I mean, LG did quite a good job. I mean, this skin looks really good. Like, as you can see, it's fast and it allows a lot of customizations. I mean, I'll go there and show you the customizations available in a minute. So maybe 8 or 10 apps, it would be just fine, but as and when you keep opening more apps because of the 2 gigs of RAM, I think then when you start to see the slowdown and a little bit of jitter when you switch from one app to the other. But it's definitely much better than the ZTE phones that I had from MetroPCS before, because what happens with the ZTE phone is, like, if you have multiple apps, it force closes the app in the background, so it doesn't save the state. So when you bring the app from the background to the foreground, whatever you were doing is lost. So I don't know if it's a ZTE problem in the software or how. So most of the times I just felt, okay, the ZTE Z Max Blade, I love that phone because of the huge 6-inch screen, but I was a little frustrated when I found out that it's basically a single app phone. So the app, if you send any app to the background, it would just, I mean, it wouldn't kill the app, but it wouldn't save the state. So it's virtually like launching the app from scratch. Let me talk about the camera. So the camera is a 13 megapixel camera on the back side, and there's a 5 megapixel front camera. Both the cameras are decent. They are average to decent in good lighting conditions in bright daylight. If you are using this phone to upload pictures of restaurants you're visiting, or hanging out with friends, or some place that you're going to, or maybe the cityscape you're driving through, you're at a store or mall, or eating exquisite food, it's gonna do just fine for your social media uploads. The only thing that's like a little bit bad with the phone is like the camera. They are calling it the Q camera, which is supposed to be an intelligent camera. So that's like the AI stripped down version of the AI camera from the LG G7 ThinQ and all that. So basically what that does is there's a software built into the camera which can recognize patterns. Basically, if you have a barcode or a QR code, the camera would be able to read that code without the help of any other third-party apps, and then it will give you links which will take you whatever that barcode or the QR code is coded with, which is pretty neat, and I think it's kind of useful and handy. But there are third-party apps that you can install and scan barcodes, so I mean, it's all right. I'm not super excited about it. I'm not gonna say, well, that's not good either, so I'm kind of neutral opinion. Front camera is also good in decent during good lighting conditions. They also have a beauty modes where you can soften the skin mode a little bit, so if you want to look good on your selfies, yeah, so the camera app actually natively supports some beauty stuff that you can adjust and get, you know, better looking pictures of yourself, which I think is in 2018 most people, you know, selfie is so popular, you know, all cameras should have some settings so that you can look a little bit better and do some, with the processing in there. But once again, the two biggest pitfalls from both the front and the rear camera is low light performance. There's a lot of noise and lack of detail. It's just that watercolor effect. If you take a picture in the dark, or even like a little darker areas, like little low light areas, the pictures don't turn out to be good at all. They will lack a lot of details. There would be a lot of noise, and overall, it's not even, I wouldn't even term them like usable. I wouldn't even want to upload that into social media, because it would just look like, yeah, I have a crappy phone with a crappy camera on it. Daytime pictures also has these problems where, the post-processing, the camera software, kind of smoothens the details, so to some extent some of the sharpness is lost, but it's still okay. It is still usable. It's not super bad, so I won't really complain about that. But in the low light camera performance is pretty bad. But again, once you have to remember, this is entry level mid-ranger, not a expensive flagship phone which cost 4 or 5 times this. So if you really want to get the best camera, then you have to go probably buy the S9 Plus, which is like almost $900, or iPhone X, which is again $1,000. So all those phones, it's not fair to compare this phone camera with the a phone which cost 3 to 4 times. But I would compare this to the Motorola G6. I think Motorola did a good job. So their G6 series this year, all their cameras are pretty good. Even though they are the entry level mid-range devices, or even like even the Moto E5 Plus cameras, I felt that was pretty decent compared to the camera on this one. Now coming back to the software, that did come with this comes with the LG stock and launcher, and the stock launcher is pretty good in a sense that allows you lots and lots of customization. Like if you can see, it also has this NFC, so you can use your Google Pay. But if you go through the settings, like they have a lot of options. You have a sharing panel, file sharing, media server, AirDrive, lot of customizations from LG side. So you wouldn't be bored. You would be very happy to play around with this phone for a few days, to figure out all the settings and all the different options that it allows. And then there's the sound quality thing. I'm just scrolling through so to give you guys a fair amount of idea of what all is in there in terms of customization. So in the home screen, it has both modes, so you can stop using the app drawer and everything would be on your home screen, all the app icons. Or you can do, if you're used to the app launcher app drawer, then you can use that. You can scale the display. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention is here in the brightness. So there's a bug right now with the auto brightness settings. So what happens is, if you turn on auto brightness, when you are in darker areas, it dims the screen to almost to the lowest level. So it sometimes makes it so hard to even read the screen. So hopefully they would probably release a patch which will fix the auto brightness bug. So right now I'm using it at a manual brightness. Because with the auto brightness mode, it was very difficult and annoying to use it indoors, because every time I would come inside, the bug is only for adjusting the light in darker conditions. When I went inside, it works fine. With the outdoors, it would boost up the brightness to the max when you were outside. But when you're inside your home or in your office, it would just reduce it to 0, so the backlit would be 0, so you would be able to not see the screen. So which is like really annoying. I don't know how LG didn't catch that in the release and fix it already. Hopefully there would be some kind of a software update or push that will fix that bug. In terms of software, it did come with Android 8.1.0 with the June security patch. we'll have to see if it will get any updates at all, because the other ZT phones that I got from MetroPCS, they never got any software updates. I mean, it's a general problem with most Android phones where, you know, they don't get as many updates. Even expensive phones also have similar problems, and if they're carrier branded phones, they're kind of in the hands of the carrier to get updated, and sometimes the carriers don't do a good job you know, updating the phones frequently. So I don't know if this will get updated, but as of now it runs the latest version of Android and has a decent a June level security patch, and when it comes to, you know, all the options and the apps and everything is running smooth and fine. So I think you're good if you're not like you want the latest Android in, you know, as soon as it comes out. So you have to go for a Pixel device or one of the Google Android One certified devices. But if you don't care about the latest software each time and you can wait few months, then this phone, I mean, it's gonna be just fine, because it already has the latest version of Android security updates too. So it's good for me. I think it's good for a year, you know, 6 months to a year, because I'm not expecting anything drastic to happen with the Android P version. I've already you know, tried that and with the other devices. So that's, I think, pretty much sums up everything except for the fingerprint scanner. So let me show the fingerprint scanner position is comfortable. I mean, that's why I always say when it comes to the build quality of this phone, I would give it a 9 out of 10 if I wasn't considering the price point. But if I was considering the price at which this phone, LG is selling this phone, I would give it a 10 out of 10 because that's how good the phone is right now. As you can see, you know, the phone really looks good. If I was to place this side by side with a 4 times or 5 times more expensive Galaxy Note 8, and I was you know, I would set the same wallpaper so that make it look like the same from the user interface, I think from a distance it would be very hard for anyone to guess which one is what. I know, I mean, even though the Samsung has a Super AMOLED Quad HD display and whatnot, you know, but this display is no slouch. I mean, even though it's just a full HD LCD display, hats off to LG for, you know, making such a nice looking display for you know, that price point. So I just want to show you the performance. The position of the fingerprint scanner is perfect, no problems, but that's the speed. It's not the fastest, I would say. It takes like about half a second to unlock the phone. It's not an issue for me, but I would just wanted to mention that it's not the fastest fingerprint unlock out there, but it does the job, so nothing to complain about either. So that's pretty much sums up my initial impressions of this LG Stylo 4 device. If you are getting this from MetroPCS, do watch out for the different kinds of promos that they have, because depending on which promo you get this phone, you can save a lot of money on this. I mean, I know some people got it at when they ported their number from a non-T-Mobile number, they were able to get this phone for just $30. But if you don't get it on a promo, just go with the standard mail-in rebate and all, it could cost you $180. This phone is also available as an Amazon exclusive if you don't want the carrier locked version, and you want the unlocked version and clean stock and kind of cleaner version of Android. Then you can go for the Amazon exclusive version, but it will be preloaded with all the Amazon apps. But you do get, that's the 3 gig version, so you would definitely get 3 gigs of RAM. So it's cost about $200. So there's the retail price for this phone is $250. So Amazon is selling it for $199, so give you $50 discount if you have Amazon Prime. Well, the only thing that is problematic, but you can always go ahead and uninstall or disable the Amazon apps if you don't want to use them. But it does have an extra gig of RAM. Same way, like you can also get this if you're on Cricket, you can get this from Cricket, but Cricket doesn't really have a lot of promo around it, so it's almost like close to the full price that you have to pay. They have standard some port-in discounts, but that's about it. But the Cricket phone also does have, you know, 3 gigs of RAM. But I mean, if you are on MetroPCS or you're planning to switch to MetroPCS, I mean, I would wait to try to get this phone at the best promo that they're running. I mean, they have sold it as low as you know, $40. They have also sold it for $80 promos. So yeah, I mean, even at $80 promo or even $100, this phone is pretty, I mean, that's like a really great deal to get this phone for less than $100. So the quality of the phone is pretty good. I mean, it's totally worth 150 bucks. So there's few things I kind of missed, and I want to add this as a last minute thing. So I want to talk about the stylus, which I didn't. So let me just grab the stylus. So those are the things that you can do with the stylus. So you have a pop-up menu, captures, GIF capture, pop lens. So this stylus is not as fancy as the one that you get from the Galaxy Note 8 or any of the Galaxy Notes, but it does have a lot of other options that lets you cool stuff. Like, so the GIF capture is basically like it's like a small video. It's like an animation that you can capture, and then the capture plus is you capture the screen and then you can write on it and then share with your friends and stuff. So yeah, basically if you like to have a stylus and you like to do some sketching and being able to write or annotate a screenshot, then this is pretty handy. So yeah. Now even in the software they did a lot of other settings. So now if you were there's a setting that if you enable, so that gives you the the stylus reminder. So if you were forgetting your stylus, the phone will alert you and will tell you that you're moving too much away from the stylus, so that you don't forget and lose the stylus. I think that's pretty much everything about this phone. I will upload some of the camera samples that I have from this phone and some other phones in the same range, and I'll also take in some pictures with the Galaxy S9 so that you can use it as a benchmark, so how best the scene would look like if it was taken with a flagship camera, so you can compare and decide how good or bad this phone is. So thank you guys for watching my video. Do subscribe to my channel, support me by liking my videos and leaving your questions and comments, and I would try to answer and get back to you as much as possible. So right now, I mean, I'm gonna get rid of this phone, not gonna have it anymore, but definitely, like, if you have any questions, I would try to if I already have used that feature or something, I would try to answer that question. If not, I will try to point you to the right direction where you can find the answer to that. So thanks guys, and we'll meet in the next video. Bye.